and welcome to your Raider Show on RTV. I'm your host, John Phillips, and I've been trying to figure out the appropriate name for him. I mean, he has so many, his capacity to remember things, and it's going to take me a while to get it right. But I said, in all my years, I've been doing this a long time. I've been following the Raiders. I saw the first ever Raider football game at Frank Ewell Field, and I've never come across a person with his knowledge, but the memory of his knowledge is the key thing. You can ask him a question, it'll take him a second to go, and that's Leonard Stevens, my man.
Oh, well, thank you very much. It's really great to have this second show, and I know that after last week, we're going to have a whole bunch of great things to talk about today.
Well, you know what it is? We don't have enough time, because we could be on here for a couple hours. With what we got, we talked on the phone for that much time about the things we were going to talk about on the show, but there's no way we can get it all in. But it was certainly a great Sunday for the Raiders on the road down in New Orleans. And we can just start it basically by saying, what a great win. And as I talked about the last show, my admiration for Coach Jack Del Rio. And with him coming forth and deciding, and we both know why, but for those out there that don't follow it really closely like we do, you could say, well, he was a gambler. No. He had no choice but to go for 2 points, because with 47 seconds left, and probably one of the greatest quarterbacks in the history of the NFL, Drew Brees, you leave him 47 seconds at home, and thank God they didn't have any timeouts, because had they had any timeouts, the game would have been a different story. Trust me.
You're absolutely right. I mean, the guy threw for over 400 yards as it was, and you're thinking exactly how Jack Del Rio was thinking. You know, Jack said that at the beginning of the drive, not after we scored, he had already mentioned to Derek Carr that, yeah, we're going to go down, we're going to score a touchdown, and then we're going to go for 2 and win this game. So it was already predetermined what the Raiders were going to do when they got the ball. What that demonstrates to me is the confidence that Jack Del Rio has in the Raiders organization. Our current players, the coaching staff, that we can make the correct calls, all the way down to our different units to make the correct decisions, and the execution. So I was really impressed with that, and I was also very impressed with Derek Carr.
Well, you couldn't have said it better, but the confidence on the sidelines, and we look at things that most people don't because we're junkies, let's face it. We're Raider junkies forever. But I watch the demeanor of the coaching staff, the players. Every year it's gotten better with Carr. But now, I mean, they know this kid, and he's still a kid, football terms. They know this kid can win football games for them and take them further than anybody ever expected. Now, we're expected to go to the playoffs. I don't look at just the playoffs.
Well, you know what? I think this is the first time during this season, which will be one of many times that we disagree, because I believe that in terms of football, he's not a kid. The guy's been breaking down tape with his older brother ever since he was 2 years old. So he's seen a lot of football. But what I saw from Derek Carr more than anything was an old cliche that the Raiders used to have. Everybody knows about commitment to excellence, and we still talk about it. But I saw in Derek Carr pride and poise. That was one of Al Davis's favorite sayings. Yes, I mean, the Raiders went in there with pride. They showed resiliency to be able to fight back, you know, and go through all the adversity they went to. But in terms of poise, Derek Carr looks like a statuette. You almost remind me of Ken Stabler standing back there, surveying the field and picking them apart. He threw for over 319 yards. He was 24 for 38 and 1 touchdown. So he played pretty much flawless. He had a 98.5 quarterback rating after game 1.
And I'm going to let you know, our studio, I guarantee you there's nothing on the wall written over there. That's strictly from here, always is. It's amazing to me. But, you know, the thing that I enjoyed the most, though, is watching the few Raider fans compared to the 80,000 they had. We had a few Raider fans.
Oh, yeah.
But there were shots that they had early in the game, especially when we went down by a bunch. And they were sitting there. They didn't lose their composure. But, you know, the New Orleans fans, I've been to the Superdome. It's a fun place to watch a game. And they go after you when you're a visitor. They really do. But when the tide started to change and the waves started going our way instead of New Orleans ways, they couldn't handle it. They didn't handle it very well at all. And our Raider fans, with a lot of class. That's a win with class.
Well, they did, but I wasn't, because I'm telling you, that was a nail biter. I was sitting at home. I'm not gonna lie to you, I was cussing off the TV. There were certain players I was angry. Like, why did you do, but the thing is that again, the Raiders stood up through adversity. New Orleans is probably one of the toughest venues in the NFL.
Oh, no doubt.
It's a loud stadium, it's an indoor stadium, and you were playing in their home opener, and you were playing against, once again, Drew Brees. So I feel like that the Raiders overcame a lot, and that can do nothing but be a shot in the arm of confidence moving forward for the team, for the coaches, and for the entire organization.
Well, let's talk about going forward, because we know that, and we're going to do this in another segment, but I'm not talking about going over Atlanta's team. But what I am talking about is knowing that now we play another guy that when he's right, now he's not Drew Brees, but when he's right, and he was right on Sunday, he can throw it.
Oh, Matty Ice.
Yep. And that's what I'm saying. So it brings challenges to our defense, and we'll get on defense later, because especially 98-yard touchdown. I'm going to get on that one big time.
Yeah, we got to talk about that.
Oh, but I look at the fact, I've been looking at the schedule, and I cheat. See, he got it up here. I got it right in front of me. But I look at this schedule, and I'm thinking, boy, we literally can go 4-0. I'm dead serious, but then I look and I say, San Diego we can go 6-0. Then I look, I say, Jacksonville, Tampa Bay? Come on, man, is this real?
See, your
opinion, I'm being honest.
It's honest, but it's a biased honest. I mean, if I look at it right now, I'm going to say we can go 16-0 because I'm a Raider fan.
But I'm going to tell you the truth. I've been a Raider fan since I was a kid. I went to the first Raider football game when I was in high school, okay? So what I'm saying is I love the Raiders, but I'm not biased.
Okay. You're a realist.
I'm a realist about what, after the Super Bowl at Stanford, I mean, you realize how difficult it is, and I know a lot of Raider fans can understand this. I'm true, but the one thing I am is a true fan. I'm with the Raiders, win, lose, tie, draw, however you want to say it. I don't care how bad they are. I don't care how good they are. I'm going to be with them. I always have been. But you have to be realistic about what we have and what we can do. And we were in a horrible drought. Talking about California being in a drought, the Raiders' drought was worse than California's drought, because we were in dire needs of getting the right components, and it started with our general manager.
Right, so we have the right general manager in place, we have the right quarterback in place, and now, what about Amari Cooper? Man, he was all over the field, 6 receptions for 137 yards, and actually he caught a 2-point conversion, and Michael Crabtree. So the wide receivers did their thing. So it was a great game for the Raiders. Michael Crabtree with the go-ahead 2-point conversion at the end of the game. Purely out-muscled the defender. Great recognition on Derek Carr. And let's not forget Bill Musgrave, the offensive coordinator that called and drew up the play.
The Oregon Duck.
Oh, man.
But let me tell you, you just hit a nerve with me when you talked about Crabtree. I love him as a football player. I love him as a wide receiver. I can't to this day understand how the 49ers allowed him to get away from them, but I was so disappointed in him. I don't get mad. I'm just, because, having been an athlete in my day and so forth, and you know what it takes to win, you know how to accept losing. I mean, all these things have to come to make you a complete player.
It's hard for me to accept losing.
No, okay. I said you have to know how to accept losing, because when's the last time a team went undefeated? The Dolphins, 72. So ain't nobody been undefeated, so you better learn how to deal with it, because you're going to lose.
It's inevitable.
Because the teams are so much better now. But all I'm saying is he lost his composure, and that was at a critical time. And the only thing that saved us, and Janikowski, thank God, he kicked it to the 5. Man. But, and this shows you how little things happen. He kicked the ball to the 5-yard line. If he wouldn't have had the penalty, he'd have kicked it in the end zone.
Right.
But guess what? We gained 5 yards. We got the ball to the 20.
Absolutely.
It would have been. See, I knew you caught that.
Oh, yes, I did.
I knew he caught that.
It was great, because I was like, come on, Janikowski, kick the mess out of this ball.
Yes, he did.
And I didn't say mess, but I said kick the mess out of this ball, because we need for you to just let your leg out. And the Polish cannon went off.
He did it.
Yeah, he kicked the ball about 80 yards in the air.
Yeah.
But I think it's time for us to take a break for our sponsors, and we'll be right back with more of your Raider Show here on our TV.
Absolutely. And welcome back to your Raider Show on RTV. Leonard Stevens, John Phillips. We're ready to get right back into it. Didn't want to take a break because we was on Crabtree. You know, that bothered me a lot. But
well, I feel like Crabtree did some good things in that game. He set good examples. I was impressed by his possession catching and fighting for extra yards. I felt like that he showed that he was a veteran by how he knew that he was going to get up and get over the defender. And it was no question about him pulling in that two-point conversion. If you take a look at that play, you'll see that it was a quick step off the line of scrimmage. It was a fade pattern, and Carr laid a beautiful pass right into the arms of Michael Crabtree. So the Raiders, they look pretty good. I was impressed also that, you know, Del Rio went for 3 times because Amari Cooper caught a two-point conversion as well. The first one failed. So the wide receivers, I felt, deserve a B-plus grade. I'm giving a B-plus because you're upset with Crabtree and the inappropriate time to show that emotion when we were trying to finish the game off.
Well, the inappropriate time was obvious, but the thing that bothers me the most is he is a veteran receiver, excellent receiver. I love the guy. He's just a football player. But what he shows younger players on the team, and they don't have to be wide receivers, but you show them that inability to lose your composure, and that's what you can't do.
Right.
And we'll get off of that. So you wanted to talk about the offensive line, and especially Donald Penn, who did a great job under the circumstance of losing guys. He went to a spot that wasn't his, but he held his ground.
Well, Donald Penn, he actually had to move over from the left side to the right side. We lost Menelik Watson to a groin injury. We ended up losing McCants to a knee injury, and it forced the Raiders to make some juggling. And they only had 8 linemen that were active for the whole game. So actually the next tackle would have been Lee Smith, the tight end. So I felt that not only should we mention Donald Penn, but Kelechi Osamale. Man, KO, man. Did you see that run?
Yes.
Let's take a look at that run. The 75-yard run by Jalen Richard right up the gut. And you'll see, as he gets through the hole, you'll see where Kelechi Osamale finishes off the linebacker, and it looks like that the rookie, the undrafted rookie, went into another gear and turned it up a notch as he scores all the way down the field for a touchdown. So it was a great play by the Raiders, and I felt like that the offensive line were the keys to victory because, let's face it, Donald Penn's stat on either side of the line, whether he was on the left or right, the Raiders attempted 40 passing plays that he was involved in pass blocking. He didn't even have a hurry or a pressure. So he went 40-0 without his man even breathing on the quarterback.
Hey.
So I felt like the offensive line did a great job in adjusting to the adversity, and it was a plug-and-play situation. And that's a testament to Mike Tice, the offensive line coach, who was a pretty good tight end and blocker himself back in the day.
Absolutely. Now, what does that say for what we have to do? Do we have offensive linemen on the practice squad? There's going to be deals made this week. You know, a groin injury is one thing, and it's painful. I've had one. Only one, thank God. But when you talk about a knee injury, that's a whole different ballgame. That's not something that you're going to come back from quickly. So,
well, fortunately for the Raiders, neither one of those injuries at this time are reported to be significant. We'll find out more on Wednesday when they return back to practice, so we'll see who's on the field. And keep in mind that Austin Howard was battling for that position as well, and he's been sitting out trying to rest that ankle. So they've got 3 right tackles right now that are, I guess if they have to go by committee, which, speaking of committee, what about the running backs? The running backs of the Raiders, man. If you think about it, between the 84 yards that Richard had and the 59 yards that were ground out by Latavius Murray, burying over a guy at the goal line for the first touchdown, the Raiders got over 130 second effort.
Yep.
They got over 135 yards rushing to go along with over 200-yard passing. We keep getting 350, 400 yards a game offensively, then we'll be winning games this year. So very impressed with the offense as a whole, but I think that now we spend a lot of time on them. Let's talk about the defense a little bit.
Well, all I can say is that when you think about the fact that you're playing, like we talk about all the time, arguably one of the best quarterbacks in the game, and you have them pinned on the 2-yard line after the penalty, 2-yard line, and you come up and play the fastest receiver on the Saints, shoulder to shoulder. I don't care if that was Usain Bolt playing defense. You're flat-footed. He knows where he's going. You don't. I was a wide receiver when I played football. You can do things And he has to be a tremendous athlete, but more importantly, he has to have tremendous speed to stop you from getting where you want to go. And within 2 steps, remember I told you I taped the game and I watched it by myself. That's what I enjoyed the most. And I watched it 3 different times. I ran it back, played it. In the second step, he was beat.
Well, if you take a look at that play, you'll see that you got Sean Smith that's lined up right
Now you see,
on his shoulder.
I was trying to be nice.
Right there.
I didn't mention his name.
Well, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, this is a Raiders show, so we have to look at the fact that this is what happened. It's real talk here. So as he comes off the line of scrimmage, he fakes to the inside, he shoots outside, and then he's gone. It's just a go route. And Drew Brees, to being the quarterback he is, put it right on the money. And the rest was history. It was no catching that guy. He runs a 4-2. So what did Jack Del Rio do? He pulled him. He was benched. He didn't see another play. I respect Jack Del Rio for doing that because that is not acceptable. You cannot give up a 98-yard touchdown pass. I used to tell people the most demoralizing thing is to watch a team go 99.5 yards and score a touchdown. It just takes the breath out of the team. It's just, and a 98-yard bomb is equivalent in one play. So again, a testament to the Raiders' resiliency to be able to bounce back and go blow for blow in New Orleans against a team that has the best offense in football for the last 2 years. So you knew that Drew Brees was going to score a lot of points. So I'm kind of saying the jury is still out on the Raiders' defense right now. We know that they did well in shutting down the run. They held New Orleans in less than 50 yards rushing for the entire game. But part of that is because New Orleans' offense is based on the pass and having an efficient quarterback like Drew Brees. So I think you got to really look at it's a mixed bag because I did see some good things out of the defense. First and foremost, Bruce Irvins. A great job with the strip sack early to get the Raiders on the board to score first in the game. I felt like that he really showed that with him being on the other side and Mac on the opposite side, that the Raiders have 2 bookends that are going to be causing havoc all day long. I was also impressed by the play of Ben Heaney. Sometimes when you don't hear somebody talking about you, that's a good thing. And no one was saying that he was able to be ran over during the course of the game. So there were a few plays that stood out. I thought some of the play calling that was done, like the pass interferences that were kept calling, I feel like the refs didn't really, it must have been one of those crews that don't like us. Because you know there are some crews out there that just don't like the Raiders, I feel like. But, you know, I guess that's part of the game.
Well, we're going to take a quick break right now and come back. But when we come back, we're going to talk about how Jack Del Rio was just livid about the officiating. So we're going to do that. But we'll be back after this short break on your Raiders Show on RTV. Welcome back to your Raiders Show on RTV. Leonard Stevens, John Phillips. And you see how quick I did that? Because we got to get into this last segment.
Okay, let's do it.
Okay, so we want to talk about where we're going game 2. We got the Atlanta Falcons, who got pretty beat down. Jameis Winston put it on them. I loved it because I'm a big Jameis Winston fan. But we talked about Matty Ice a minute, right? Let's keep him where Tampa Bay kept him. And the rest of the Falcons, and we'll be fine.
Well, I mean, Matty Ice still had 4 touchdown passes. The thing we got to worry about him is that Julio Jones. You're talking about 136 catches. He's where Amari Cooper is going to be at the end of the year because I don't see anybody stopping Amari Cooper. But back to the Atlanta Falcons, their defense looked pretty porous. You're right. They were carved up by Jameis Winston. They gave up 4 touchdowns throughout the air, and they were being gouged on the ground by the running game. Yep. So I feel like that the Raiders, what we have to do to win is that we have to continue to dominate in the trenches. That's number one. We got to be able to run the ball, and we have to take advantage of their defensive secondary. If Jameis can do it, I'm sure Derek Carr can do it. And we have to come out and we have to start fast. So I like when we defer at the beginning of the game and let the defense get out there and get after the quarterback. So I think the defense has to put pressure on Matty Ice. They have to be able to stay with those wide receivers because they do have a good receiving core. And the Raiders have to just execute, and they have to continue to play with confidence. And if they do that, exemplify the pride and poise, I feel like that we'll be fine.
Well, I agree with everything you said. The thing that I always worry about with as many young players as we have is that you tend to always get up on the road because you know you're underdog and you don't have your fans in the stands and so forth and so on. But sometimes young players, they get complacent at home, and that's always a concern. That's why the Crabtrees and the Macs, and I know Khalil Mack has only been there a couple of years, but you use your veterans and your key players to set a tone with the younger guys and say, hey, we don't care if we're home or not. We got to have the same, drive and fortitude to go forth at home more so than we do on the road because we're playing in front of our fans.
Right.
So that's going to be important to me to watch that. I always talk about consistency. You know that. And we were inconsistent and still won.
Just win, baby.
That's all it is.
And that's what Del Rio's bringing back to the Raiders, that just win mentality. That never say die, the resiliency, the pride and poise that was laid out there from all the way back from John Madden, and even before him, Johnny Rauch. Yep. You didn't know I knew about Johnny Rauch, huh?
Yeah.
1969, huh?
Hey,
you didn't know I went that far back, did you?
Let me tell you what. When you go back
11 and 1, 12, but we were winning a lot of games back then.
The old AFL, and one day when we have a bye, we're going to talk about the old AFL. But Atlanta, I just think that's a very winnable game as far as I look at it. And then we go on the road to Tennessee. And we talked about this before the show started. I really think that's a winnable game, a very winnable game.
That will be my one road trip of the year. I will go to Tennessee for that game.
Well, then they're winning.
I love going to one game.
You're going, they're winning.
Road. So I'm excited to see what we do. I'm not looking ahead just yet. Right now, my focus is on the Atlanta Falcons, and we got to take care of business next week, and we'll be right back here for you next week to go over what you'll see as the Raiders play the Atlanta Falcons. We'll recap it, and we'll talk about, at that time, the upcoming game with the Tennessee Titans on your Raiders show here on our TV.